The house belongs to my Anna now. Patricia's smug voice crackled through my phone's speaker. I've changed all the locks. Don't bother coming back. I stood outside the small clinic in Guatemala where I'd been volunteering for the past 3 months, the humid air clinging to my skin as I processed her words. Interesting, I replied, keeping my voice steady. And how exactly did you manage that, Patricia? She laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. Of Elizabeth, you're so naive. Did you really think James' old documents would hold up? I've taken care of everything while you've been playing savior to those foreign children. My name is Elizabeth Foster, and at 34, I was listening to my mother-in-law try to steal my home. The historic Victorian house my late husband James had inherited from his grandfather. The same house where James and I had spent 5 beautiful years before cancer took him too soon. The same house Patricia had been trying to claim since his death 2 years ago. Thanks for letting me know, I said calmly, ending the call before she could respond. My hands weren't shaking as I opened my email and contacted Mr. Davidson, the family lawyer who'd helped James set everything up before he passed. The old deed was safely stored in his office, along with some other documents Patricia knew nothing about. Inside the clinic, Maria, one of the local nurses, noticed my expression. Todo bien, she asked, concerned. Yes, everything's fine, I assured her, managing a smile. Just some family drama back home. I didn't mention that my mother-in-law had just tried to steal my house, or that her daughter Anna was probably already moving in, assuming they finally won their long battle against me. They never understood why James had left the house to me instead of his sister. They couldn't comprehend that our marriage had been real, that we'd been partners in every sense of the word. To them, I was just the young wife who'd stolen their precious James, who'd failed to give him children before cancer claimed him at 37. The house needs to stay in the family. Patricia had insisted at the funeral, as if I wasn't family, as if the 5 years James and I had shared meant nothing. When I decided to volunteer abroad with Doctors Without Borders, using my nursing skills to help those in need, Patricia had seen it as abandonment. Running away, she called it, ignoring that this had been James's dream too. My phone buzzed with an email from Mr. Davidson. Documents secure. Proceeding as discussed. Return when ready. I smiled, remembering the day James and I had sat in Mr. Davidson's office, planning for a future we didn't know would be cut short. My mother will try something, James had said, his voice weak, but his mind still sharp. She's never accepted Elizabeth, and she won't start after I'm gone. We'd spent hours ensuring everything was legally airtight. The house, the original deed, the trust James had set up. Everything was protected. Patricia thought she'd found a loophole, probably some old document from when James's grandfather had owned the property, but she didn't know about the updated deed or the letters James had left with Mr. Davidson. That evening, as I helped the clinic staff organize supplies for the next day's patients, my phone lit up with texts from Anna, James's younger sister. How dare you ignore Mom's calls? The house should have been mine anyway. You never deserved James. We're throwing out all your stuff tomorrow. I forwarded each message to Mr. Davidson without responding. Every threat, every attempt at intimidation just added to the documentation we need later. Patricia and Anna had no idea they were building a case against themselves. The next morning, I received another call, this time from Mrs. Henderson, my elderly neighbor who lived next door for 40 years. Elizabeth dear, she said, her voice worried, there are people removing furniture from your house. That horrible Patricia is supervising everything. Thank you for letting me know, Mrs. Henderson, I replied. Could you do me a favor and take some pictures? It might be helpful to have them. Already did, dear. I don't trust that woman one bit. Never have, especially after how she treated you at poor James's funeral. I thanked her again, feeling grateful for allies like her and Mr. Davidson. Patricia thought she'd won, that my absence made me vulnerable. She had no idea that every move she made was being documented, every action adding to her inevitable downfall. My flight home wasn't scheduled for another week, but as I looked around the clinic, at the work we'd accomplished and the lives we'd helped, I knew it was time. James would have understood. He'd always said that helping others shouldn't come at the cost of letting yourself be hurt. I booked a flight for the next day, sent Mr. Davidson my arrival details, and spent my last evening in Guatemala sitting on the clinic's porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. I thought about James, about the life we'd shared in that beautiful old house, and about the promises we'd made to each other. Don't let them push you around after I'm gone, he'd said during one of his last lucid moments. You're stronger than they know. As I packed my bags that night, I found the small photo album I always carried. Pictures of James and me in happier times, most of them taken in the house Patricia now thought she could steal. There we were on the front porch, painting the shutters together. In the garden we planted, by the fireplace during our last Christmas. The house wasn't just property, it was the physical embodiment of our love story, of the life we built together. Patricia thought she could erase that by changing the locks and moving Anna in. She had no idea what was coming. Tomorrow I would board a plane home, armed with more than just memories and an old deed. I had truth, legal documentation, and most importantly, James's final letters. The ones that would show everyone exactly why he'd left the house to me, and what he really thought of his mother's attempts to control everything. Patricia wanted a fight. Fine. But this time, I wasn't going to stay quiet and take it. This time, I was ready to show them exactly who James had married. The flight home felt like an eternity, even though I spent most of it reviewing emails from Mr. Davidson. Patricia had been busy in the 3 days since her smug phone call. She'd not only moved Anna in, but had also started renovating, stripping away the careful restorations James and I had done over the years. They've repainted the entire first floor, Mrs. Henderson reported via text. That horrible bright yellow your mother-in-law always wanted, and they're tearing up your garden. The garden. I closed my eyes, remembering the weekends James and I had spent planting each flower, each herb. Even during his chemotherapy, he'd sit in his favorite chair by the window, directing me on where to plant the new roses he'd ordered. We're creating something lasting, he'd said, his smile tired but genuine. When my taxi pulled up to the house, I sat there for a moment, taking in the changes. The elegant sage green exterior James and I had chosen was now a garish yellow. The carefully tended flower beds were torn up, replaced with what looked like artificial turf. Even our handmade welcome sign had been replaced with a giant Anna's Home Sweet Home plaque. As I stepped out of the taxi, Anna emerged from the front door, her face twisting with anger. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, crossing her arms. "Mom said you got the message." "Oh, I got it," I replied calmly, pulling my suitcase from the trunk. "Along with pictures of you removing my belongings, documentation of the unauthorized renovations, and records of every threatening message you've sent." Patricia appeared behind her daughter, her expression smug until she saw Mr. Davidson's car pulling up to the curb. "You're wasting your time," she called out, though I noticed a slight tremor in her voice. "We have documentation proving this house belongs to Anna now." "You mean the old property abstract you found in the attic?" I asked, watching her face pale. "The one from before James's grandfather transferred everything into the family trust." Mr. Davidson stepped out of his car, briefcase in hand. "Mrs. Foster, everything is ready at the courthouse if you'd like to proceed." Patricia's smugness wavered. "What courthouse? What is she talking about, Anna?" I walked up the front path, noticing how they even changed the antique door knocker James and I had found at a flea market. "Would you like to show them the documents now, Mr. Davidson, or should we wait for the police to arrive?" "Police?" Anna's voice cracked. "Mom, you said this was legal." "Oh, it's very much illegal," Mr. Davidson replied, opening his briefcase. "Unauthorized property transfer, theft, destruction of personal property. And that's just the beginning." Patricia's face reddened. "Now see here, this house belongs in the family." "I am family," I cut her off, my voice firm. "James made that clear when he married me, when he made me his partner in everything, and when he left specific instructions about the house." "Instructions?" Anna asked, her confidence faltering. Mr. Davidson pulled out a sealed envelope. Perhaps this would be a good time to read James's letter. The one he asked me to share if his mother and sister ever tried to claim the house. The color drained from Patricia's face. "What letter?" My hands didn't shake as I opened the envelope, though my heart ached seeing James's familiar handwriting. "Dear Mother and Anna, if you're reading this, it means you've tried to take the house from Elizabeth, just as you've tried to take everything else since I married her. Let me be clear. This house belongs to Elizabeth, not because of legal documents, but because she made it a home. While you complained about her changing the family property, she was by my side, making every day I had left meaningful. Where were you during my chemotherapy? Elizabeth was here, holding me through the worst nights. When I wanted to give up, she reminded me to fight. While you were planning how to protect the family legacy, She was protecting me, loving me, making me laugh even when everything hurt. This house isn't just property to her. It's every moment we shared, every dream we built. She didn't marry me for money or status, as you always claimed. She married me for love, and she loved me better than I ever thought possible. So no, Mother Anna, you don't get to take this from her. Not the house, not the memories, not any of it. Elizabeth, my love, I'm sorry they're putting you through this. Show them this letter, show them the truth, and then show them the door. All my love, James. Silence fell over the porch. Anna was crying, but Patricia stood rigid, her face a mask of fury and disbelief. Now, Mr. Davidson said, pulling out more papers, shall we discuss the legal ramifications of your actions? The unauthorized changes to the property? The disposal of Mrs. Foster's personal belongings? You can't prove anything, Patricia started, but Mrs. Henderson's voice rang out from next door. Actually, I have photos of everything, time-stamped, dear, showing exactly who did what and when. Patricia's shoulders sagged as the weight of her actions finally seemed to hit her. The sound of a police car approaching made Anna step back, her earlier bravado completely gone. Elizabeth, she started, we didn't know. Yes, you did. I cut her off. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't think I'd fight back. The police officers approached and Mr. Davidson began explaining the situation. As they took statements and documented the changes to the property, I stood in the garden James and I had planted, looking at the destruction Patricia and Anna had wrought in just a few days. But under the artificial turf, I could see the tips of our perennials pushing through. Some things were too deeply rooted to be destroyed so easily. Just like my love for James, just like my right to the home we'd built together. The day wasn't over yet, but already I could feel a shift in the air. Patricia and Anna's perfect plan had crumbled, exposed by James' own words and their own arrogance. They had gambled everything on me being too weak, too passive to stand up to them. They had forgotten one crucial thing. James hadn't married someone weak. He had married someone who would fight for what mattered, who would honor his memory by protecting what we built together. As the police led Patricia and Anna away to give formal statements, I pulled out my copy of the house key, the original, the one that would always work no matter how many locks they changed. It was time to go home, really home, and begin undoing their damage. James had trusted me to protect our home. And that's exactly what I had done. 6 months later, I stood in my restored garden, watching the spring bulbs James and I had planted years ago push through the soil. The house behind me was back to its original sage green, every change Patricia and Anna had made carefully undone. It hadn't been easy, but with each restored detail, I felt closer to the life James and I had built. The legal consequences for Patricia and Anna had been swift and significant. They were ordered to pay for all damages to the property, and a restraining order kept them from coming within 500 feet of the house. Mr. Davidson had been thorough in pressing charges for their attempted theft and property destruction. You did the right thing, Mrs. Henderson said one evening, sharing tea with me on the porch where James and I used to watch sunsets. That house was never meant for them. James knew exactly what he was doing when he left it to you. She was right. The house had become more than just a building. It was a testament to love, strength, and the power of standing up for what's right. In the months since the confrontation, I'd received letters from James' extended family, many apologizing for believing Patricia's lies about me over the years. Even Anna, separated from her mother's influence for the first time, sent a letter. Elizabeth, I'm sorry. I read James's letter over and over, and I finally understand what he saw in you. What I did was unforgivable. But I want you to know I regret it deeply. You made my brother happier than I had ever seen him. I didn't respond immediately, but I kept the letter. Perhaps someday, when the wounds weren't so fresh, there might be room for forgiveness. James would have wanted that. The house became more than just my home. It became a sanctuary for others. I started hosting weekend retreats for young widows, sharing the space that had helped me heal with others who needed it. In the garden where Patricia had laid artificial turf, I now grew vegetables that I donated to local food banks, continuing James's legacy of helping others. One quiet evening, as I sat in our favorite reading nook, I found an old notebook tucked behind some books. Inside was James's handwriting, plans we'd made for the house's future. Convert the guest room into a library. Elizabeth needs a proper place for all her books. Plant more roses. She loves watching them bloom. Maybe someday make the third bedroom into a nursery. That last one made my heart ache, but not with the sharp pain it once had. Instead, I felt grateful for the dreams we'd shared, even the ones we never got to realize. I added my own notes below his. Guest room now a library, filled with your medical books and my nursing journals. Rose garden blooming, your favorite variety survived Patricia's destruction. Third bedroom becoming a meditation space, helping others heal just like you always wanted. Mrs. Henderson called out from next door, interrupting my thoughts. Elizabeth, the first roses are blooming. I walked out to see the yellow roses James had planted for me pushing through the spring soil, stronger and more numerous than ever before. Life finds a way to persist, to bloom even after the harshest winters. Standing there, surrounded by the home James and I had loved, I felt at peace. Patricia and Anna had tried to erase me from this place, but they'd only succeeded in showing everyone exactly why James had chosen me to be its guardian. This house wasn't just brick and mortar. It was love made manifest, a promise kept, a legacy honored. And now it was also a place of healing, not just for me but for others who needed it. James would have liked that. He always said that the best revenge is living well and helping others along the way. As I walked back inside, the afternoon sun casting familiar shadows through the stained glass windows we'd restored together, I smiled. Some things can't be taken away, not with changed locks, not with legal tricks, not with any amount of manipulation. Love, truth, and justice have a way of prevailing, just as surely as spring follows winter and roses bloom again.